Welcome back to the Mountain Morning Show. We're so excited to have our friends here from Park City Education Foundation. My friend Jen Billows. Hello, Jen.
Hi,
I'm so
Kim.
excited to see you.
Good to see you too.
Can you introduce us to your guests?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I'm very excited. I have Denine, am I saying your last name right? Therrien?
Yes.
Therrien, who is a kindergarten teacher at McPolin.
Okay.
We have Jana, Tullis, who is a second grade teacher at McPolin.
Welcome.
And we have Cathy Lanigan, who is an incredible volunteer for the Ed Foundation and also has been on every PTO throughout the district as long as our kids have been here. And so just a huge help with a lot of our programs.
Well, that's great. So what are you here to tell us about today?
Well, first of all, you know, the Ed Foundation is we've been around 32 years, and we raise money to help the school district go beyond what public education provides. So we all know that, you know, taxes, we don't want to raise them too much, and Utah is the lowest funded state in the country for public education.
So that's not a yay, is it?
It's not a yay, sadly, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But so what we do is step in to fund even not just extras, but things that we in Park City really want our kids to have. So whether it's elementary art, I mean, how can an elementary child not have art, right?
Exactly.
Or reading programs. So this month, October, we actually have two programs we wanted to talk about, and October is Dyslexia Awareness Month.
Okay.
Maybe a lot of people aren't aware of that, but now they are. And dyslexia well, Denine and Jana can probably talk about it a little more, but it inhibits children's ability to read. And as many as 1 in 5 students have dyslexia. And in fact, studies have shown that a lot of kids who are even in special education, it turns out they might have had dyslexia. So although the teachers in this district, and especially Jana and Denine, are amazing, it was hard to kind of catch these kids early. And if you catch them early, then their chance of success in reading is really good. And one thing that that the district and all the studies will tell you is from kindergarten to 3rd grade you're learning to read, and then from 3rd grade on you're reading to learn. So if you don't know how to read by 3rd grade, you're in a lot of trouble. So 3 years ago, McPolin was the pilot for a dyslexia curriculum, and it was so successful, and now we're in the 3rd year, and Denine and Jana can tell you a little more about that and successes in their own classroom. And then the other thing this month is our One Book, One Community event. And so that is, it's in its 10th year. We bring in an author who comes to the high school and talks to all the students. And usually it's a very famous author. So last year we had Ruta Sepetys with Salt to the Sea, which was amazing. We've had just a lot of great authors come in. This year it's Cameron Wright, and his book is The Rent Collector. And so he'll be here next week. And Cathy sits on the committee to help choose that book. Then she works with the author the 2 days he's here, brings him everywhere. And so she's very instrumental, along with the English department, in helping choose that book. So it's one of the few experiences that every student at the high school can read the book. And then the whole community is reading it as well, and there's a free community event next Wednesday night where you can come and listen to him talk about the book.
So not tomorrow, a week from tomorrow.
A week from tomorrow, right.
So we have time to read the book.
So we have time to read the book.
There we go.
Yes. And so Cathy can talk a little bit more about that process, and then Cathy also has had 3 kids all go through the district and who've been in the program and what it means to her.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, I want to hear more about the dyslexia program. I have a very dear friend who has 2 daughters with dyslexia. The brightest girls you could ever imagine. In fact, they were so bright that they didn't catch their reading disability until quite a bit later because they had such amazing coping skills. So I'm guessing that is a little bit of what you're screening for?
Right. So Fundations is for all students.
Okay.
It really focuses on phonemic awareness, vocabulary, decoding, comprehension. And like I said, it's good for all students. And we started in kindergarten.
Okay.
And as a 2nd grade teacher, I'm now seeing those kids. This is their 3rd year at Fundations, and it's amazing the difference between this year and in past years where they didn't have that background.
Wonderful. Okay, so tell us about how this starts in kindergarten.
It starts in kindergarten. It's a phonemic awareness program which uses their gross motor skills. So children are not just having a pencil in their hand to write. It's full body movements. So their hands are up in the air and they're tracing letters and going down, and not only are we saying the letters, but we're saying a word that comprehends with that letter, and then the sound that goes with it. So when you're teaching a child the letter name, a word that goes within the sound, it internalizes. And then when we're using their body, because they're kinesthetic learners and they love to move around, that makes a big impact on the children. So in kindergarten, not only are we seeing children who we are teaching them these skills, but then they're able to use those skills. And then once we start to see those kids who can't use those skills, then we're trying to find other strategies that work with them. And so Fundations has helped us to do that. And then we send them over to first grade, which then develops those skills even more.
Okay.
So we are having the same common language from kindergarten to now 5th grade at McPolin, which helps children that once they're in this program, once they get to Jana, they're already hearing that language. And so it's not, we're not having to reteach, we're just enhancing what they already know.
That's wonderful. And what are you seeing? What are the differences in outcomes that you have seen in your careers just in this short amount of time?
So Fundations teaches kids the why the words are spelled the way they're spelled.
Oh, okay.
It's not just memorizing words. It's understanding the reason why a word ends in a C or a CK and not a C or a K. And it really helps them then, if they know those rules and they know the why, it helps them to apply it to their decoding. And so it's their confidence. They really have this new confidence in their reading because they get it. They understand that word is spelled that way because of this particular rule.
Sounds very empowering.
Well, I want to, when you talk about confidence, so when we first funded this program, and Fundations, part of the reason we've stepped in is it's a very expensive program.
Oh, okay.
It's very, very expensive. So with the help of a private donor, and then also PC Reads, which is an incredible dyslexia advocate in the community. So that group, I mean, we wouldn't be here if it weren't for that group. But that first year, I was interviewing a girl who was a senior at the high school. So she was going through elementary before dyslexia was not even really allowed to be talked about. And she was so smart. She was a good friend of my daughter's, the same age, and she had been called stupid and dumb, and she was put in the lowest reading group, and she was so smart in all other ways, and it was so frustrating for her and her family. And then they finally got a diagnosis at the University of Utah, but they couldn't really use it. And then the outside tutoring is incredibly expensive.
Yes.
So our community right now, we're talking a lot about equity, right? Well, there's equity there. If you are dyslexic and you can't afford to get the very expensive tutor, then you might be missing something. And it also puts a big strain on the teachers who have classes with readers, from all sides. So this is just, it's another strategy to help teachers catch these kids. But what this girl was doing now was amazing, but she had to become her own best advocate. And there were still people who didn't understand why she might be doodling as she was listening to the lecture, but that helped her internalize what was being said because she still was not a good reader. So the hope is that these kids will not be called dumb and stupid. They will get the confidence, they will be empowered, and then the rest of their educational experience will be a lot better.
Yes, yes. And there is no correlation between intelligence and dyslexia at all. I think it's really important that really, really bright, really, really creative people, we find out all the time. Tom Cruise just comes to mind, is dyslexic. There's many, and like I said, my friend had those wonderful girls that were just so bright. Okay, let's quickly talk about the books and the author, and then we have to wrap up. So
absolutely. So first of all, the program, the One Book, One Community, has had some of the most amazing authors, and it's really a privilege to have a program provided by the Education Foundation that includes the whole community.
Education
doesn't stop when you graduate. right?
No,
So
absolutely not.
how exciting that.
And what a treat to get to read the same book your child's reading. and
Well,
then
it
talk to
sets
the
a great
author.
example. The students know it's not just them. We're not just adding another assignment, right?
Yes.
Everybody else is reading it
Yes.
too. So it's a really wonderful gift that the Education
That is.
Foundation does.
So remind us about the author and the book so
Okay.
that the community can read this
Absolutely.
while we have a week.
It's called The Rent Collector this year. That's the book we have this year, and the author is Cameron Wright. He's actually from Salt Lake City.
Oh, wow.
And the origin of the book is that his son served a mission in Cambodia and filmed a documentary of some of the people he encountered there who were living in the Stung Min Che garbage dump. And so this community of just the poorest of the poor in Cambodia living a full life inside of a garbage dump and what that day-to-day is like. So he took those people and created this novel.
Oh, that sounds fascinating.
It's a quick read.
Oh, good. Okay.
But there's an awful lot to think and talk about.
So we'll want to read it quick and then process it for a little while, and
Absolutely.
then go talk to the author.
And both the Summit County Library and the Park City Library have had programs. They've they've screened the documentary, and they've had discussion groups. And so if you go to the websites of the Park City Library and the Summit County Library, you can find
Oh, wonderful.
other opportunities to discuss the book with members of the community. And then on the 17th,
Yes.
the author will be presenting at the Jim Sante's. So.
Okay. Well, thank you
Yeah.
all so much for joining us. We have to take a quick break with our sponsors. But thank you, Jen, and all of our new friends who joined us. And coming back, we're going to take a quick break for an ad, and we'll be back soon.